Welcome to another Cash and Sport podcast. In this week's podcast, we're joined by Moyo, the sponsorship manager at 10Bet Africa. We'll talk about the two sponsorships that they've signed, including Bafana Bafana and Lamontville Golden Arrows. We'll talk about the intricacies of signing a betting partnership in South Africa. We'll talk about strategy in terms of the overall sponsorship strategy. And we'll talk about sports betting in general. So let's get into it. Nick, thank you so much for joining me. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So let's get into it. 10Bet starts up in Africa, but within 10 months, 10Bet, 10 months, within 10 months of you arriving, you've got two key sponsorships. Let's go back before we get into the South Africa conversation, into a conversation around you and the company. So from your own background, where you from? What's Nick's history before 10Bet?
Yeah, Nick's history before 10Bet. I've been in the sponsorship landscape for over 10 years now. So
10 is a very common theme.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I've worked for a number of sponsorship agencies as well as worked with some rights owners as well along the journey. Yeah, so I think my whole life really has been in sponsorship and marketing.
Right. And then 10Bet starts up about 2003 in Malta. That's where their first, I think, official license was in Malta, into the UK. So it's over 20 years of history, got some licenses across Africa, and then decided to start up in South Africa at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
So tell us about that entry into South Africa. Why South Africa as a market? There's a lot of other African markets that are growing really strongly. Why South Africa as the major focus?
No, so certainly, I think, again, take a step back. We do have such a great global footprint, being around for over 20 years now globally, and we felt that obviously investing in the African markets, and obviously now South Africa being a key focus area for the business. There's quite a lot of opportunities and like-minded, from fans who follow sports betting and who consume the various platforms, whether it's the sports, football being a huge one. Obviously, that speaks back to our sponsorships currently. So we thought that there were quite a lot of synergies with the markets, and specifically South Africa right now, where the key focus area is for the business.
Right. And then you signed two sponsorships almost out of the blue. The second one we'll get into more detail, but the first, you signed an agreement with the South African Football Association to be the official betting partner of Bafana Bafana. So take us through that sponsorship. How did it come about? There's and maybe even why, because there's a lot of bad press about the team and the federation itself. Sure, but it's still Bafana Bafana. It's still our national football team.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And I think if we go back as a brand and a journey that we wanted to take and embark on, was to really look for a platform that speaks back to us as a brand, and also to obviously our fans and customer base. So as we know, football, there's quite a lot of interest within the sports betting and market around football sponsorships and partnerships as well, and just football as a sport in general that people love to watch and follow. So I think locally, we really want to look at platform in football, but also within football, which properties or assets could we invest in and look partner with that speaks back to our brand, our brand purpose really being customer centric driven, and also looking to always drive innovation in everything we do. I think it comes across quite nicely on our platform, being agile and intuitive as well, and really being responsive in terms of how we create those unique experiences from our platform to the sort of assets that we sponsor. So Bafana, if you start there, it's a very, very great national asset, as we know. It's not one of the biggest, not the biggest. And we felt there's such great alignment with our brand, being ambitious, especially the journey that the team is taking now. If you look in the last 2 years, the changes that they've made from the coaching and technical staff point of view, and the sort of players that they bring into the landscape, and the sort of football that they play now, is quite a lot of excitement both behind the team. So that speaks strongly to us as a brand, also in our own industry, that the sort of waves that we're looking to make and the sort of impact we want to have within our own landscape. So I thought those two mirror each other very well, being quite a great fit, for us to go for Bafana, and such a great brand story to tell on the national team that hasn't been told. And we feel that we can definitely be part of this journey with the team and help them get drive the conversation around that, and obviously align better the brand, and also most importantly create those unique customer connections and those friend connections that we don't necessarily see out there, or the stories that have been told around that. So that's a very powerful national building sponsorship and partnership with Bafana.
Right. And I mean, you guys will be the official betting partner. So, there's a lot of people who would have been putting money on Bafana losing lately. They're on the road now to AFCON. They've gone through the qualifiers, which went well for Coach Hugo Bruce. The national team itself, there's Banyana, who just came from a World Cup, and Bafana who've struggled. So you guys are trying to get them from essentially let the phoenix rise, right? There's been a lot of issues, but essentially trying to rally around this big national asset, which previously maybe hasn't been as great as it could be. You've got quite a big job on your hands with regards to that alignment and getting them up there.
Yeah, most certainly. Look, it is quite an interesting challenge that we have, and we are aligned with Safa and Bafana, the team, in terms of their vision, the way they want to take the team in the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely speaks strongly to us at 10Bet as well, the brand and the sort of impact we want to have within this partnership. So it's not, we don't see that as a sponsorship per se. It's a partnership where both of these brands are going to embark on a journey together, to make a huge difference, not just in the team, but I think in the nation itself, and how everyone can be excited about the team and the various communities that actually follow the team and want to see them do so well. Like you speak about AFCON right now, the World Cup qualifiers, there's quite a lot of interest in terms of which opposition are we playing, which players, I think we want to really, get this feel-good story going around the team itself, holistically, as being this pillar of hope for many South Africans that really follow and support Bafana.
Right, and being the place that people can actually put their money behind Bafana through placing a bet, right? Because ultimately that's the end goal. But the larger goal, I think, is quite important around building positive stories around the national team and getting people behind the national team, because we need it. So that's quite important. But if the trajectory of 10Bet so far is anything to go by in terms of just hitting the ground running,
yeah,
and making big acquisitions is anything to go by, then there's no reason why Bafana can't get there. And with that, maybe let's segue into the second sponsorship, which is almost, it was thought to be impossible. A lot of people felt like sports betting sponsorship of PSL teams was taboo, like the league didn't want it to happen, and we all know what happened with Cape Town City and that debacle. So how did this come about? Like, it just came out of the blue. It's within circles within the industry. It's been spoken about for a long time, but no one has ever done it. How did 10Bet do it?
Yeah, no, definitely interesting point of discussion. Look, as 10Bet, we wanted to be the change makers in the space in terms of local football. Especially looking at the Premier Soccer League, the teams in terms of the sponsorship requirements from those teams that they need, and it's not anything new, of course, but we really wanted to get into the space and make a huge impact. And I think for us, really, it was also within that space, which sort of teams would we be looking at, or what team can we definitely look to support and invest in. Again, one that's aligned to our brand and our vision and what we want to achieve. And sponsoring and partnering with Golden Arrows, it's quite an interesting journey that we embarked on in terms of here's an opportunity for brand or team from KZN, an iconic football club, that has such great rich history, and in terms of the brand essence that represents, they're quite powerful as well, and definitely spoke back to 10Bet as a brand. So that was a great alignment and a win for us both, being on the same page in terms of that. Mm-hmm. But I think also, looking at the Premier Soccer League and we're telling right now, there's quite a lot of opportunities for brands, and we felt that as a sport betting book or brand itself wanted to open doors for other potential opportunities of such nature. So we wanted to be the first, to get into the space as well and officially sponsor a PSL team. And so we went through all the various, obviously, processes, with the club and the PSL to ensure that, come 2023-2024 season, we are part of the PSL experience as well with the team. So it was quite a unique journey that we embarked on versus from the founder story, but definitely one that's going to be powerful moving forward, especially for us as the brand and for the team as well.
Right. And just on the process itself, they've previously in the past been questions around the league permission. So this is a confirmation that there was permission from the league. There's nothing untoward.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what's going on, and there won't be, at least from what we've heard, there hasn't been any issues with regards to doing it without league permission.
Yeah, but certainly, I think it was quite critical for us to take those necessary steps in the earlier stages of our relationship with the football club, because we are obviously a brand, that's about processes from a brand perspective, but also want to do the right thing with the team as well and be aligned with the league. Obviously, we know various stories that have taken place in the past, in terms of other partnerships. So we are in a way to understand, the rule book, if I put it that way, and how to go about it to unlock this great sponsorship opportunity.
Right. And for the uninitiated, the rule book doesn't state that it's illegal to have a sports betting sponsorship.
Yeah.
So the sort of hesitance from the industry was sort of misplaced, and certainly as Cash and Sport, having looked at it, we've said it's doable, but generally there's been a hesitancy to do that. How have you guys been accepted by the league? How were they receptive of the sponsorship? I would assume that they would be happy about it because there's another team now in the league that has sponsorship and they have potentially the ability to do a little bit more for not only their team but for KZN.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I feel the league does understand the need for partnership and sponsorship, how important it is for the football teams, from very various assets or facets, and how key it is for them to have the right sort of partners as well who are going to make a difference in those ecosystems of those football teams. So definitely we're well received by the league. I think it's quite an exciting time now and where sponsorship is heading in the country as well. And obviously, as we speak about the sports betting category, there'll be more opportunities for other football teams within the PSL or within professional football space, both from a men and women's side. When we look at the other women's league as well, in terms of the teams, they're also looking to acquire various partnerships and partnerships. So we want to definitely create this blueprint for other brands as well to come into the space.
Right, you guys definitely have opened Pandora's box on this. I don't see how the league can now go on with just one day. As you said, you may not have intentionally said, well, come on over for everyone else, but they will probably come. Are you looking forward to the challenge of being this pace setter? You've set the pace pretty hot and quick. 2 sponsorships already within 10 months. One which is almost, it's like pulling hen's teeth. In terms of the product, you already mentioned the fact that you want to be innovative and do things differently. Are you ready to continue to be innovative? It's a hard thing being first all the time.
Yeah. Look, it's a hard thing being first, but I think it's also a great thing being first. Like I said, we want to just be the enablers, in terms of what we've done from a partnership point of view for those sports betting brands or any other brand that fall outside this category. I think for us, really, it is to stay true to what we have been about as a business the last 10 months, especially in South Africa, the open market, and you see how ambitious it's been in the various, touch points where we've been involved in, and looking at sponsorship now, as you've mentioned, the various partnerships that we've engaged and embarked and committed to. So definitely, I think that's a great challenge. It's great for ourselves. It's great from a competitive landscape point of view as well.
Right. And in terms of the fan experience, what can fans look forward to? Because, KZN is a very hotly contested area. There's Royal AM, there's AmaZulu, there was previously what's this, Marisburg United as well. Sorry, guys, you're relegated now. You're not really top of mind anymore. So what can fans sort of look forward to in terms of you guys activating these two sponsorships and getting the best out of KZN in terms of Golden Arrows and Bafana Bafana?
No, exactly. Valid point there. I think for us, really, it is around, creating those unique connections with fans, and not just Golden Arrows fans, but I think sports fans as a whole. We want to create this environment in terms of how we go about leveraging the partnership. It's not just a partnership where you'll see 10Bet branding at the games and so forth, but we really want to bring fans in within the brand and for them to understand what we are about and what we want to achieve, obviously, in our journey with Golden Arrows. So we've already started some of those events and also various touch points on social and digital media. So there are those various platforms that we've already touched up on in terms of really art activations and leveraging on digital and social platforms. I think on the ground, there's quite a lot that fans will see during the season or at the home games, especially, and within the surrounding communities. So we do have some great, exciting fan engagement as well that will be rolled out.
Talk to me about that element, that community element, because I think for me, the brands entrenching themselves in communities and actually doing stuff for communities is very important. While researching the story, I think you've already done some work in KZN communities. There was a kit giveaway with balls, etc., for local teams. Already starting as well with local football competitions. Tell me how important is that for you guys? How big a focus is it of the business?
Yeah, it's a huge focus for the business. It goes back to what we really are about. We are about the fans, the communities, the various players in the ecosystem or football space in this instance. So we're always going back to what I was talking about, being customer centric. So it goes beyond and above and beyond just obviously the fans that support the teams that we sponsor, or the various customers that we engage with daily from a business point of view. But where those fans come from, or those various individuals, the communities, what are we as 10Bet doing to elevate those communities? So it's key for us to be involved with that partnerships and the various events that are now community centric, right? And what are the opportunities for us in terms of playing in those those spaces and actually entrenching ourselves within those communities and actually creating creating those impactful opportunities for the communities as well.
Right. And Nick, before we wrap up, there's the side of the story which says there are a lot of betting companies in South Africa. You are one of probably hundreds. And there's a lot of South Africans in this country who would say, well, betting isn't really great for people. We've got a very large youthful population, a lot of them unemployed. I come from a betting background, and I know that there's a big importance in terms of responsibility. What is your approach to not just being entertained, but being entertained responsibly?
Certainly, look, there are a number of initiatives that we at 10Bet manage and have been running in South Africa. I think for us, it's quite important for people to understand that what we offer as 10Bet is, to your point, entertainment. And I think with entertainment, it comes with responsibility for an individual who wants to participate in that. You have to understand what entertainment is about and what value does it bring to me. And I think that's something as a brand we want to put out there from consumer perspective as well, so that they actually understand our interest in our world and what we looking to present from them. Like we speak about the product and service offerings that we have, and the various assets that they can participate in, whether it's sports betting or the various gaming elements that we have within our 10Bet portfolio. But it's important for them to understand what does it all mean for them from a responsible participation point of view. Right. We definitely have embarked on various initiatives and to ensure that fans are part of that as well and understand completely what 10Bet is about in their lives as well.
Right. And the last question might be a bit of a difficult one. And it goes back to arrows. Le Mans for Golden Arrows, for me, as someone from the outside looking in, you would think middle of the road team, does decently well, sometimes pushes for titles every now and again. I think they lost one an NTNA title a few years ago. There's been there's this question around, well, Arrows is a good team, but probably wouldn't have been my first choice, right? You already mentioned the fact that you're looking at a team with good history. Does it help that Arrows is a team which is also heavily connected? There's a lot of people who can help the brand along. Do you think that helps you in terms of not only the CEO but the people within the club and the history of the club? It's been around for so long. Do you think that helps the brand to do more, or do you think that big names can also be a hindrance? They can carry you, they can drag you along as you move along. How do you feel about that relationship? And is it awkward? Because I know that journalists will ask the question.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd ask the question around, okay, well, there is a CEO who's been around for a long time. You own the club. Does it feel awkward? Does it not matter to you? You guys have a mandate to take this team from where it is and get them competing, and that's all you care about.
Yeah, look, it doesn't feel awkward at all, I'd first to say, but I think when you look at Ball Arrows and the various elements that you've mentioned now, it has been a well-run club for a long period of time now, for decades. I think those sort of elements that we feel also help us in supporting the club to get them to the next level. It's quite efficiently ran, and also obviously we got a lot of things, how professional we are on and off the pitch, and the marketing team that's already engaged with us at this present moment to execute and leverage. The sponsorship has been really good. So I think those sort of things are what we're looking at really to ensure this is a successful and mutually beneficial relationship and a partnership as a whole. Yeah, so those other things I feel, what you mentioned, perhaps may benefit us. We haven't looked at them extensively, but I think in terms of the other elements, such as now professional, the football team is definitely aligned to where we want to take it as well.
Right. And I said I was going to ask you one more question. One last one. 5 years from now, it's difficult to look that far ahead. But where do you see 10Bet in the grand scheme? Are there any practical goals? We want to have 25% market share, or where's 10Bet 5 years from now?
Yeah, look, 5 years from now, we want to be top of mind. When you're a consumer or football fan or any sports betting enthusiast, wanted to think 10Bet. So that's the big job that we do right now in South Africa. Really entrenching ourselves in an omni-channel marketing approach as well. Creating those touch points which will allow us to achieve such a goal, to be amongst the top 2 players in the country. In our landscape. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to, and something that's definitely exciting for us as a brand moving forward.
Right. Nick Moyo, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the insights, and good luck with the 10Bet project. You've hit the ground running. It's very difficult to keep up a pace like this, but you've proven already that pace isn't so much of a problem, and yeah, good luck.
No, thank you so much. Looking forward to this exciting journey.
If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, give us a follow, share this content with your mates. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you again next week.